Let's start with the ones that hurt, haunt, and humble, and climb toward the tiny tyrants that quietly rewrite biology. These animals don't need claws, tusks, or cinematic roars. They turn a simple bite, sometimes barely noticeable at first, into a cascade of pain, paralysis, or disease. Some unleash complex venoms, others outsource the damage to parasites or viruses. Either way, the lesson is the same. In nature, it's not the size of the mouth, it's the aftermath of the bite. Number 7. The Komodo dragon. A Komodo dragon doesn't win by sprinting prey into the ground. It wins by starting a clock inside the bloodstream. For decades, people repeated the myth that Komodos killed with dirty mouths, as if their saliva were a swamp of lethal bacteria. The real story is more precise and more terrifying. They possess venom glands that deliver a cocktail designed to crash blood pressure and stop clotting. A single clamp and release bite can turn a strong animal into a staggering shadow of itself within minutes. That backward saw of teeth, serrated, recurved, built to tear, opens deep channels, and the venom makes sure those channels keep bleeding. The dragon doesn't need to chase, it simply follows, tongue flicking, reading the air like a detective trailing a suspect that's already confessed. For a human, the danger unfolds in stages. First, there's the shock of the bite, meaty, ripping pain and bleeding that's alarmingly hard to control. Then a spreading dizziness and weakness, the sense that your body's hydraulics are failing. Even survivors describe an eerie fatigue that doesn't feel like fear, so much as the machinery winding down. Field medics know the script: pressure dressings to fight the hemorrhage, fluids to prop up pressure, antibiotics for the dirty wound edges, and rapid evacuation. The Komodo's strategy isn't theatrical, it's patient and biochemical, the quiet confidence of a hunter that outsourced most of the work to chemistry and time. Number 6. The bullet ant. Technically, the bullet ant delivers a sting rather than a bite, but your nervous system can't tell the difference. It only knows overload. People who felt it say it's like holding onto an electric cable while someone crushes your hand with a hammer. The venom floods sodium channels and pushes nerve endings into relentless burning discharge. The pain blooms, then brightens, then settles into a sustained roar that can last up to 24 hours. Sweat beads on the skin, hands tremble. The world narrows to one mandate: endure. In parts of the Amazon, a coming-of-age ritual asks young initiates to wear woven gloves lined with bullet ants. Multiple stings turn the body into a lit-up map of agony, and the test isn't about whether you can avoid pain. It's whether you can stay composed while your nervous system dissolves into static. There's no life-threatening toxin in the usual sense, no organ failure on the horizon, only a sustained neurological hurricane that leaves you wrung out and humble. Survival is almost never in question. Sanity feels negotiable. Practical care is basic but essential. Cooling, elevation, oral analgesics if available, and monitoring for rare allergic reactions. Afterward, the memory lingers like a scar you can't see, a warning label from the forest itself. Number 5. The Black Widow spider. The Black Widow's power is scale. Not the quantity of venom, but how efficiently it hijacks your wiring. The bite can be tiny, sometimes missed entirely in the moment, but the alpha-latrotoxin is ruthless, forcing nerve terminals to dump neurotransmitters in a chaotic flood. Muscles cramp and lock, the chest tightens as if shrink-wrapped, and the abdomen knits into iron cords. There's sweating, nausea, restlessness, and the awful sense that something is tearing inside you, even though nothing is torn. Doctors have a name for the full-body syndrome: latrodectism. In the modern world, with good care, deaths are rare. The hours are still hellish. Widows prefer dark corners, with structure wood piles, garages, the undersides of seats and shelves. They are not hunting you. They're protecting real estate you didn't know you stepped into. The moral is painfully ordinary. Wear gloves where memory says you won't need them. Shine a light in old storage and shake out the tarp or boot you haven't touched since last season. If a bite happens, treatment aims at pain control and muscle relaxation. Antivenom exists and can be stunningly effective in severe cases, though it's used judiciously. The Black Widow is a reminder that devastation can arrive with almost clerical neatness. A pinprick and paperwork for your nervous system. Number 4. The Inland Taipan. Australia's Inland Taipan is shy, elusive, and armed with the most toxic venom of any snake measured. Its bite delivers a multi-pronged attack. Neurotoxins that silence nerves, myotoxins that tear muscle from the inside, and procoagulants that turn your blood into a chaotic experiment. Untreated, the course can be brutally fast. Early signs can be deceptively mild. Local pain might be modest, but then headache, nausea, drooping eyelids, and weakness converge. Muscle proteins spill into the bloodstream, threatening the kidneys. Breathing can falter as paralysis spreads. It's not cinematic, it's clinical and relentless. What makes the Taipan particularly unnerving is the mismatch between its personality and its payload. It doesn't posture or seek confrontation, it simply carries a lab's worth of lethal chemistry in a mouth that rarely needs to use it. Encounter risk is low, outcome severity is maximal. The countermeasure is modern logistics. Recognize the bite early, immobilize the limb, evacuate for anti-venom, monitor the blood and kidneys, and support respiration if needed. In the controlled environment of a hospital, people are saved every day from venoms that would have ended lives a century ago. The Taipan's lesson is that danger doesn't have to announce itself to be absolute. Number 3. The cone snail. The cone snail is a small patterned marine beauty that hides a harpoon behind its elegance. When it strikes, a microscopic spear shoots from its proboscis and injects conotoxins, a pharmacy of peptides, tuned to switch off muscles, numb pain, and if the dose is right, stop breathing. There is no widely available anti-venom. The onset can be disarmingly calm at first, tingling numbness, weakness that creeps from limb toward trunk. Divers who've been hit describe a sudden sense of heaviness and the creeping fear that their lungs are turning to stone. It's not rage, it's a dimmer switch sliding downward. Cone snails aren't prowling for humans. They're ambush predators of fish and other marine life. Humans get tagged when curious fingers probe shells, or hands linger on reef ledges where a cone lies in wait. The guidelines are simple enough to save a life. Admire, don't handle. Use gloves where appropriate. Remember that small doesn't mean safe. If a strike happens, immobilize. Watch for breathing failure and get to care. Oxygen and ventilatory support can be the difference. The cone snail's harpoon is millimeters long. Its consequences can be final. Number 2. The Tsetse fly. The Tsetse fly looks like an ordinary nuisance, but its bite can deliver trypanosomes, the parasites behind African sleeping sickness. The first phase is sneaky fever, headaches, lymph node swelling, aches that mimic half the infections on Earth. Then the parasite invades the central nervous system. Sleep-wake cycles fracture, confusion and personality changes creep in, seizures and coma can follow. Untreated, it's often fatal. Even when treated, the disease can leave a long tail of neurological recovery, the brain slowly renegotiating with itself after a microscopic occupation. The devastation here is not venom. There is none but logistics, who has access to diagnosis, who can get the right drugs in time, who can be found and followed up in remote communities. Vector control, screening, and modern therapies have pushed the disease back in many regions, but outbreaks remind us how thin the margin can be. The Tsetse's bite is a delivery service for something that rewires weeks of your life, then tries to steal the rest. The creature itself is forgettable. The parasite is not. If there's a moral, it's that public health is a shield that must be held up constantly. Where it drops, the old enemies walk back in. Number 1. The mosquito. The smallest mouth on this list owns the highest body count in human history. A mosquito's bite barely registers an itch, an afterthought, but the diseases it carries have toppled armies, shifted borders, and written whole chapters of mortality. Malaria, dengue, yellow fever, Zika, chikungunya, and more. Malaria alone kills hundreds of thousands every year, mostly children, mostly in places where treatment and prevention are hardest to maintain. Dengue can push the immune system into a hemorrhagic panic. Yellow fever can turn the liver into a battlefield. Zika showed the world how a virus crossing the placenta can change a child's life before it begins. The mosquito's genius is scale and stealth. It slips through screens, hums in ears, and needs so little blood to accomplish so much harm. Its bite is a syringe connected to a continent. For most of us in temperate cities, mosquito season is a nuisance, repellent, coils, a few welts. For millions, it's an existential season, and victory looks like bed nets, clean water, rapid tests, vaccines where available, and relentless vector control. If the grim message of this list is that small can be deadly, the counter message is that small interventions, nets, drains, screens, save vast numbers of lives. The deadliest animal on Earth loses often when people get organized. So there you have it. 7 creatures whose bites turn small moments into big consequences. A lizard that starts a timer in your bloodstream. An ant that plugs your nerves into the wall. A spider that turns messaging into mayhem. A snake that carries a whole lab in each drop. A seashell that fires a poisoned spear. A fly that lends its mouth to a parasite. And a mosquito, quiet, ubiquitous, that writes history by the pint. The pattern is clear. Devastation doesn't always arrive with a roar. Sometimes it shows up as a pinprick and a shrug. Respect the little things. They're the ones that change everything.